The Orlando Sentinel's investigation into the state's private school scholarship program sparked a conversation about the way students are educated in Florida. But that was just the beginning.
How many hundreds or thousands of kids have looked at this and said, okay, the Flintstones is a documentary?
We teach from a traditionalist standpoint of history, and I think that's important.
In this Orlando Sentinel original, we're diving deeper into the curriculum these Florida scholarship students are learning.
Righteousness for His name's sake.
We feel, and they feel, that they've been well prepared.
I consider these textbooks scary.
And we're getting answers about what type of education state-funded scholarship students are getting. The state does not regulate what private schools teach in their classrooms, despite nearly $1 billion in state-backed money going to support them. The state also does not collect data on what programs each school uses in their classrooms. But through the Orlando Sentinel's investigation, 3 programs appear to be among the most commonly used. They're Abeka, Bob Jones, and Accelerated Christian Education, also known as ACE or ACE. All 3 teach a biblical-based education. Bob Jones and Abeka are usually taught in a traditional teacher-student setting, while ACE uses self-paced workbooks that students complete individually. Countryside Christian School in Gainesville uses both Abeka and ACE curriculum.
Parents that were concerned, they wanted a different type of education for their children, a Christian-based education, and they would come. And then you had others that were just struggling terribly in the public school system. Head pastor Bill Keith says he likes giving parents educational options. I like the ACE program because it's an individualized curriculum. You know, it's not a lockstep learning like you and I graduated, from public school system. An expert we spoke to says terms like individualized education may sound appealing, but might not be what they appear.
The use of language such as individualized learning for them sort of takes on the vision in which students are completing workbooks as such at their own pace, and they're doing so independently. That's not what individualized learning is. Professor Christopher Busey analyzes social studies curriculum at the University of Florida. He says all 3 programs have issues. So after reviewing the materials, there were several concerns that arose, namely in terms of both skill as well as the content that students would be interacting with.
What he's talking about is material like this.
Although Southern boys were dying all about him, Lee bore no animosity toward the Union. He always insisted that the South would have voluntarily abandoned slavery if Northern radicals had not made the situation dangerous by encouraging slave revolts. Just as President Lincoln represented the best of the North, General Lee represented the most noble qualities of the South. Phyllis Wheatley's poetry reflects a reverence for the Bible, an understanding of scriptural truth, and a love for America. In spite of her condition of servitude, she was thankful for being brought to America, where she could hear the gospel. Another concern that Professor Busey had was that there's definitely a political slant to a lot of the texts that we reviewed, in that liberals are sort of presented as godless people and conservatives are presented as the Christian godly people.
This is how you create a society that simply abides by the rules set forth by those in power.
And Professor Busey says it's not just the text that is problematic.
The images alone are primarily of white men. So you rarely see any contributions from people of color, women, indigenous, African Americans, Asian Americans, or Latinos.
That's important because about 60% of students that use the scholarship program are minorities. Let's flip the page now to Downey Christian School in Orange County that uses all 3 curriculums.
As the school grew, we wanted to provide options academically to students because they didn't quite fit every student.
For example, their science teachers touch on evolution while also teaching creationism.
We think it's important that the students learn the theory of evolution. We believe in creation and we teach creation, but we know that as students go out into the real world, they need to be aware and educated other than just what we stand for in our Christian views.
George Washington. Very good.
At Countryside Christian, they teach creationism exclusively.
There's false science, and true science agrees with the Bible. Evolution is a theory that has to be accepted by faith, just like creation has to be accepted by faith. Neither one can truly be proven.
An expert we spoke to disagrees.
And so for anybody, oh my God, I just go and bang my head on my desk every time someone says it's just a theory. That's horrible. That's exactly what we're trying to fight against.
Brandon Hott is a science teacher in Volusia County and a member of the Florida Citizens for Science, which is a group which hopes to keep creationism out of public school curriculum.
Theory is solid. I have yet to hear anybody come forward and complain about teaching gravitational theory. I've yet to hear anyone come forward and complain about the teaching of the germ theory of disease. And yet everyone's coming forward and complaining about the theory of evolution.
But evolution is not the only lesson he's concerned with. Here are some examples.
The suggestion has been made that Noah took small or baby dinosaurs onto the ark. Occasionally, God does use disease as a punishment for sin. You may have heard of the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland, or Nessie for short. Eyewitness accounts and a few pictures taken from a distance have failed to reveal what Nessie truly is. Overall, everyone we spoke to felt like, in some ways, they were very anti-science, at least in the area of evolution, because that disagrees with their religious teachings. And then they also felt like there were places where they just said things that there is no scientific proof of, suggesting that man and dinosaurs lived together, or that the Loch Ness Monster might be real. And just really arguing in what they say are unscientific ways against what's pretty much accepted fact in the scientific community.
One thing that everyone seems to agree on is that all curriculums have issues, not just the ones used in private schools.
I would say all texts have a political agenda, whether it's public or private, because we want to promote our views and our thoughts and what we believe in.
When you look at who authors textbooks, both like these, as well as traditional K-12 texts, there is bias in those textbooks, and that bias typically comes from more conservative leanings. Again, not to this extent though.
Neither ACE nor Bob Jones responded to requests for comment. In an email, an ABECA official declined to discuss the materials, but did say, quote, "We are confident that our content is accurate, age-appropriate, and academically rigorous."
We can have a whole cadre of potential future biologists who are going to learn how to cure cancer, but that's going to be killed off in private school because they didn't learn the proper science. Maybe that next Charles Darwin is sitting in a private school somewhere, and the future for science is now killed by this pile of junk.
Continue the investigation. Read the rest of our Schools Without Rules stories right now on orlandosentinel.com/schools without rules. For the Orlando Sentinel, I'm Kayla O'Brien.